afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm delighted to be here with you today. We've got 1 hour, and thank you, ACCA, for inviting me to present. It's an honor to do this job. And we are here today because you have the exam coming up in about 3 weeks, and I want to equip you with up-to-date knowledge, up-to-date skills so you can rock, so you can get a pass. I want to do 3 things with you today. We're going to look at the examiner's report. It's a very dense document. I have boiled it down to 5 key points that I learned when I spent a long time reading it and dissecting it. I want to show you the study hub. It's super cool. It's got everything you need there. And then I want to talk about some strategies for these last weeks. One of you just said that you're stressed because you're resitting. Let's talk about that. So guys, I want to jump right in. And look at this, guys. We are looking at a snippet from one of the exhibits, and you are being asked to do work by the Board of Trustees. And I want to highlight a word, a phrase, value for money. You guys all see that? That is right there in the task, in the embedded task. So you've got to do something related to value for money. Guys, look at this one. This is a really dense exhibit, and there are a lot of tasks for you there. But at the bottom, the consultant's explanation that the new info system will help structurize, systematize, sanitize, etc., left the board confused. Look at that. Technical topics. Look at this one. She has asked for an explanation of the SHIP acronym: simultaneity, heterogeneity, intangibility. So guys, my message to you, and the most common comment that I saw as I read that examiner's report, is that you need to study the syllabus broadly, okay? Before you start diving in deep, you've got to go through the whole syllabus, okay? The examiner said that multiple times in that examiner's report. So study broadly first, and then you go in deeper. Now, how are you going to do that? Time is running out. Well, guys, we have an awesome tool for you here. So you got to study the whole syllabus according to the examiner. He also said there was a very clear split. Look at this, between those who knew what the transfer pricing criteria are and those who did not. So guys, it's technical knowledge. You got to have that technical knowledge before you can begin crafting an answer. And I want to show you now how to use the study hub in these last 3 weeks, okay? I'm going to share my screen. And if you don't see my screen, please refresh your browser. Takes a moment often. Okay, it takes a moment to kick in. And I believe that you guys can see my screen now. If you can't, hit a refresh. So guys, I am now in the study hub. I have already opened up the APM part of it. Now here's a little side tip. I use Google Chrome for my life. My online banking is there, my Gmail is there, my calendar is there. But when I am doing things related to ACCA, I rock Firefox browser. So it's completely decluttered. The only thing I have are my essential links. I've got the practice platform, the study hub, the educator hub, and then some details for different papers. So that's a good way to focus your studying. If you make a separate study browser, then you kind of know, oh, it's business time, it's ACCA time when you're in this browser. Now, guys, we can do 3 things here. First thing that we can do, guys, this is everything you need to study from beginning to end, right? Every topic is here. So this will be aligned with a study plan. okay, with any study plan from any publisher. All of the topics are here. But you know what, guys? It's a little bit late to go through this sequentially from beginning to end. There really isn't enough time right now just to read everything. So what I recommend you do, you need to make a mind map of the syllabus area. And now, when you are unsure of a topic, you can use the search. I do this all the time. So in the slides, we saw that you needed to answer a question around simultaneity. I hope I'm spelling that right. It might not, yeah, I did, okay? So people, look at all of the cool things that you can do. So I recommend you use this as a surgery, cherry picking. When you need to refresh a topic, come in here and check it out. So the first thing that you can do, learn, right? Heterogeneity. Each service provided could be unique because people are involved, so the quality of the service is challenging to standardize. Imagine a dentist. A dentist provides a service. Every mouth is different, so you can't pre-make the fillings. The service is customized to the user. So guys, you could learn any topic rather quickly. Very important, as I said, go through and learn broadly first, then you drill down. Now, you can also do the quiz. So this is an awesome thing to do as well. You can go in and you can do the Chapter 5 quiz. So this is a great way to test your knowledge. And this is a great way to use your study time. Let's say you've got 15 minutes at lunch. Not really enough time to do a full question, but why not come in here and rock one of the chapter quizzes? Make sure you know the material, okay? So you can learn, you can quiz, and then you can also revise. Okay, so look at this. I want to practice a question on this topic, so I'm just going to, boom, go right here. Here it is. I've got a mini scenario, which is nice. It's not as time-consuming as a full exam question, okay? And then you read, and now we can go right here. I kind of just didn't do a full answer. I just practiced with it. But now you can plan out your answer, and you can write up some of the ideas to practice your exam technique. So look at this. They want you to talk about economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. So you can plan out your full answer, and maybe you just write up 2 marks on economy to practice your writing skills and your time management. Guys, Study Hub has everything you need, as long as you're also in test reach in the practice platform as well, simulating the real exam. That's right here. I want to come back to this a little bit later. So guys, Study Hub, awesome tool. Right after this webinar, please check it out. Searching on topics to learn, quizzing yourself for broad knowledge, practicing questions to understand you for your comprehension, and if you can apply those concepts to a business story. I'm going to go back to the slides now. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm asking my colleagues in the team chat if you can still hear me. Can I get a quick thumbs up that you can hear me and you can see me still?
Yes, Steve, you're audible and visible on camera.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, so that is the Study Hub. And that is how you tackle the first comment in the examiner's report: study the syllabus broadly, know all of the technical knowledge. All right, next item in the examiner's report that came up multiple times, you rock stars, is you have got to find and perform the embedded tasks. This unlocks the technical marks. It unlocks the professional marks. If you do not find these embedded tasks, it's pretty much game over. If you practice finding them, structuring your answer, you know, you're on a nice path for a pass. So here is the comment. A significant minority of candidates failed to score any marks as a result of not answering the question that was asked. Okay? That was the comment mentioned several times. How do you answer the question that is asked? Well, you've got to go into the exhibits, and this is an idiosyncrasy of APM. If you are coming in from SPL, the requirements are presented to you on a silver platter in the requirements section. Not so here. You've got to find the embedded requirements, and you have got to find the task. The PD has asked you to evaluate the suitability of the potential measure of industry, individual journeys per ferry for this determinant. So all you have to do is evaluate one performance metric. Here's another one. Look at this. The PD asks you to evaluate performance measures and targets selected for the determinants. And then make sure you address the divisional manager's comments. So guys, you got to practice quickly reading the exhibits, finding the embedded tasks. Give me a thumbs up if you're hearing that message, you guys. And look at this. The common error was to evaluate the other measures in the appendix and not the suggested measure. So that's a real tragedy. Guys, if the candidates had just done this and evaluated, individual journeys per ferry, it would have been fine. But people just decided to do other things, evaluate other things. So, the APM pass rate is really low, but I think you guys can fix this, okay? So find and perform those embedded tasks, guys. Here's another one. Give advice, okay, on the method, on the problems with the basis of the manager's performance. So guys, you do these things and you are on track for a pass, okay? Answer the question that is asked. That is my tip from that point in the examiner's report. Guys, now, this was a little bit mysterious to me. The examiner's report says students who used a systematic approach did very well. But guys, what is a systematic approach? Those candidates who performed well on this question used a systematic approach. What do they mean? Well, I figured that out, and look at this. Here's another task. CFO has asked for your advice, and you got to advise on the problems on the basis of which the manager's performance is assessed. And you also have got to give some relevant calculations and discuss if the manager should get their bonus. So guys, you find the task, and now you structure your answer. That is a systematic approach. I am going to take each task, and I am going to make a heading, talk about the problems, and then the bonus. Does that make sense, you guys? You structure, you plan your answer with high-level headings, signposting. Then you find the problems and you evaluate those problems. So look at this. You find problem one. What is the problem? Why it's a problem. Problem two. What is the problem? Why it's a problem. Guys, another description of this would be parallel structure in writing. It's very boring for a novel. If a novel were written in this way, we wouldn't want to read it because there's no drama, there's no excitement, there's no mystery. But for a business document, for your APM answer, lay out the problems and just go. Why is it a problem? What's the problem? Why is it a problem? Boom, boom, boom. Okay? The manager should or should not receive a bonus. Do you guys see that? That's a very important tip I'm going to come to in a minute as well. Look at that word because. That's going to help you get credit. So that's what the systematic approach is. Structure your answer completely before you write. Guys, then when you start writing, look at this. The first problem that we find, uncontrollable KPIs. The manager should only be judged by performance that is within his control. That's the problem. But guys, in APM, you got to develop your ideas. For example, the head office costs are decided by the head office and should be taken out of the manager's individual performance review. Guys, you do not have to write in a fancy manner. You don't have to treat this as your master's thesis. You need to write concisely, directly, simply. Answer the question that is asked. Evaluate the problems. There it is. Okay? You do that 3 more times, and you are just rocking lots of marks. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Systematic approach. Structure, plan, write in a simple, direct manner. I'm looking for thumbs up, you guys, that you got that one. And look at this, develop the idea even a little bit more. If these costs are kept in the appraisal report, the manager is unfair and will become demotivated. So look at this. I'm rocking now professional marks potentially for some business acumen, development, maybe there's a follow-on mark. So guys, write like this. Next item that I found in that examiner's report, you need to link your answer to the scenario. This is directly from the examiner's reports, you guys. Candidates who scored well related each element to scale in the scenario. That's the name of the company, right? So candidates who well related each element to the business that they found in the scenario. So look at this. You guys, do you think I got a mark for writing this? Here's that simultaneity bit, right? Here's that the differences between manufacturing and service. So first of all, there's going to be no marks for freestyling your answer. When they are asking for specific models, theories, you're going to have to give it to them. If the marker doesn't see that word simultaneity in your answer, right, you're not getting credit. So you got to study the syllabus from a broad way. Guys, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think a mark was earned. What do you think? Drum roll. The suspense is killing me. What do you guys think? You're getting shy. You don't want to commit. Thank you. Oh, look, a mixed bag. Guys, there might be 1 or 2 marks available for the definition of this. There might be 1 or 2 marks. But if your answer is looking like this the whole way, it is 100% a fail. Now, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. For Gale, this means they have no chance to fix a poor ferry experience from bad weather, for example. Now, guys, look at that sentence. This is about a ferry company. So I'm using my imagination now. I'm pretending that I work at this company. I'm picturing what it's like to ride on a ferry. I'm really trying to simulate this experience as a business simulation. So I'm linking to the story. It's about ferries, so I'm thinking weather could be a problem. This is different from a manufacturing company that can send a replacement if the unit is defective, right? So if the ferry has bad weather, it's game over on that ferry trip. You're not going to send the guy back across the ocean and say, you can go again. Alrighty, guys, so look at that. Credit is being earned with that answer. I'm linking to the scenario. I'm also on track to earn professional marks. Give me a smile if you see how we can turn a generic answer into a customized answer that earns a lot of credit. You with me there, team? Cool. So always reference the business found in the scenario. And if you can't think of something specific, just think about the industry. If it's a restaurant, think about restaurant things. If it's a hotel, think about hotel things. They usually give you businesses that you can relate to. So got to use your imagination. Now, understand the APM verbs. This is the last thing that I wanted to share with you from that examiner's report specifically, okay? And this is a problem. This is one of the main reasons I have resitters on my courses. It's dealing with these verbs, okay? Look at this. Evaluate the KPIs, suggest improvements, assess the problems. Evaluating, suggesting, assessing. Guys, this is not describe, explain, and discuss. The days of describing, explaining, and discussing things are over. That's a PM-ish. That's PM-ish. Okay, we're now in APM, guys. So look at this. The examiner said it right in the report. An evaluation should involve discussing what is good and bad. So people, the key to unlocking the APM verbs is to express judgment in your answer. Take a stand. Jump right in. Is something good or is something bad? Okay? Here's an example. Customer perspective. So guys, that could be from a balanced scorecard. Now, I'm not describing the balanced scorecard. I'm not describing the scenario. I'm not saying in the scenario we find blah, blah, blah. I am jumping in. The customer perspective is too narrow. It's not broad enough. Now, the only stakeholder measured here is the government. Guys, if I wrote that one sentence, would I get a mark? What do you think? The only stakeholder mentioned here is the government. Do you think that one sentence would get me a mark? That's another problem that is related to this, not stating the obvious. Okay, so you think everybody understands what you mean, but guys, you need to explain the obvious. However, the only stakeholder mentioned in the customer part is the government. However, a pharma company like JMR also has to consider other customers. For example, the end users of the medicine. Look, linked to the story in order to minimize stakeholder conflicts. So people using just basic writing, simple writing to develop my idea further, showing judgment. Why is it bad? What's the problem? Why is it a problem? So that's another tip. State the obvious. I worked with someone once on one of my courses. This guy failed over 10 times. Can you believe it? I met this person on a one-day revision workshop. Sitting next to that person was another candidate who had never done a course, was someone from business. And this person who had failed was the controller in a international group of companies. So this guy is doing performance management for a living. You know what their problem was? not saying more. They were so used to writing efficiently and quickly that they forgot they've got to just explain their points. So if you step back and explain your points, you're going to get a pass. That guy passed, guys, after that. And the guy who was sitting next to him, who never did the course, he got the prize for the region that's sitting, okay? So you guys can all get a pass, okay? You all have the power to. Sorry, I digressed a tiny bit there, guys. Now, here's I lied to you. I had one more thing to say, okay? Not 5, I have 6. Professional marks. People, you are all stressing about professional marks. I get so many messages. Steve, how do you get a professional mark? What do I have to do? Very quickly, guys, there are 4 professional marks in professional skills in APM, okay? First one is only in question 1. That is demonstration of communication skills. You got to do several things. First one, make the report look like a report. Give your report a quick title. Give your report, put the company name there, just to start off the business simulation on the right foot. Date, to, from, okay? Make it look like a report. Then you have to do this introduction, right? So then you're going to make a heading, introduction, and you're going to write there, do not forget. Okay? Do not forget. You come back then and do the introduction at the end. After you've written the report, you know what you wrote. So the introduction will just fly off of your fingertips. Okay? Group your ideas together. That is the systematic approach I showed you. Headings, subheadings, signposting. Professional tone. Now, you need to do this. Imagine you are writing an email to a friendly colleague at work. Your friendly colleague at work will not judge your spelling, will not judge your grammar. It's not your boss, it's not the client. It's just a buddy at work. Hey buddy, here's my draft report. Can you have a look before I send it off to the boss? That is the mentality, the writing style that you want. Direct, simple, to the point. Guys, do all of that and you're earning the communication skills marks, okay? Analysis and evaluation. You're going to find that one in every question. And that comes from those verbs, evaluate, assess, critically evaluate, all of this, okay? So all you got to do, express judgment. Something is good, something is bad. Don't leave it hanging. Your argument needs evidence. So now you use some piece from the scenario as your evidence, okay? Structure your answer, pros and cons. There it is. Justify your argument with evidence from the story and with some conclusion or some advice. Based on this analysis, I think we should not go ahead with XYZ. Guys, you're going to get the A and D marks. Do one more thing. Try to use info from multiple exhibits. And if they give you some numbers, definitely refer to those numbers. Don't ignore that numerical appendix. Okay, definitely pick something out of there. Commercial acumen. Guys, this one you have to say, for example, you need to frame your answer in the context of the scenario. So you make a point, you link it right to that scenario, try to impress the marker with an interesting idea. Don't be generic. Say, for example, to develop your idea. You make your point, you don't know what else to say. Say, for example, to illustrate your point. Now, make sure you're practical. Your answers need to make business sense. If you are looking at a not-for-profit organization, don't start talking about EVA. We should put EVA in the performance report. That's going to help things. Of course that won't, because there are no shareholders. So that's going to annoy the markers when you do something like that, and they will hold back on professional marks. So just everything you say needs to make business sense. Guys, skepticism happens when you develop your ContraPoints, okay? Make sure you do the cons. Now, if you see the requirement critically evaluate something, that is a clue that there are potentially skepticism marks available there. So when you see critically evaluate, don't be afraid to go negative. Don't say, oh, I only found good things. This thing looks awesome. I only found good points, right? Critically evaluate means there's something bad in there, okay? Look for statements made by managers. Sometimes you see this. You're going to get a big story about quality dropping, right? You're going to get a big story about quality dropping. And then the manager says, we don't get complaints, so the dropping quality is not a problem. Guys, is that statement valid? What do you think? Manager says, we don't get complaints, so quality is not a problem. No, well, maybe the people just don't come back. The people just don't come back to your business. They don't bother complaining. Okay, so when you see a statement, it's often there for you to challenge. Okay? There it is, right? We don't need to reduce defects. Customers are not complaining. You could challenge that statement. Guys, let me recap for you the main things I found in the examiner's report. Study the syllabus broadly. Do that in the study hub. Find those embedded tasks. You practice that in the practice platform. Use a systematic approach. So you structure your answer before you write. Link your answer to the scenario. Develop your idea. Say, for example, say because, state the obvious. Understand those APM verbs, and the key there is to express judgment. And then make sure you get the professional marks. Okay, guys? There you go. You don't have to read the examiner's report now. I did it for you. You can still have a look if you have time, but that's what I found. Team, let me share with you now some strategies for the final weeks here. Give me 1 moment for 1 second here. I'm still here. We need more light. It just got so dark outside. I am back, brighter. Okay, friends, what are you gonna do in that exam? Guys, at this point, simulation is critical. And a lot of people complain about the exam jitters. Oh, I get the exam jitters. I get into the exam hall and I draw a blank. And then as soon as I left the exam hall, I'm like, oh man, that's what I should have written. Guys, that is completely normal. What's happening there is the amygdala region of your brain is taking over. That's the fight or flight part of your brain. That's also called the lizard brain. Okay, so if you are panicked or stressed or nervous or you have butterflies in your stomach, that means your ability to critically reason is being blocked. So the way you fix that, guys, is simulation. Just like a firefighter or a policeman, they rehearse challenging, stressful situations, so it's muscle memory. So guys, you got to do the mock exam under timed conditions. You've got to check the debrief. Now take that seriously. Find a quiet place, block 3 hours, 15 minutes. Don't do it in chunks. Don't do a little bit at lunchtime, a little bit later. Treat it like a simulation. Make sure you watch that debrief video. It's full of exam technique advice. You've got the practice exams and the past exams in the study hub. So you've got so many opportunities right now to simulate. Very important to do the first 15 minutes of the exam. That is a skill you need to rehearse and practice. I have a YouTube video on that. So all you got to do is put in Steve Willis, ACCA, and you're going to see my YouTube channel there for APM. You got to do that. It's also explained very well in the debrief video, so you can check that as well. And then you got to practice finding that embedded task, right? So for all of those practice exams, go through there. Can you find the embedded task? Can you structure your answer? Now I'm gonna digress for a moment. A good way to simulate, you can structure the whole thing, then put on a stopwatch for 3 minutes and see if you can write 2 ideas in their entirety in 3 minutes. You don't have to spend the whole 45 minutes writing. Spend 3 minutes. See if you can get 1 complete idea out. So that's like training for a marathon. You don't train for a marathon by running marathons. You train by doing little pieces. Same thing. So guys, you got to simulate. That's the first strategy. Next thing, you've got to get those professional marks. 20 marks is 40%. It's almost 50%. And you need to do one thing. One thing, you guys. Answer the question that is asked. The examiner's report also says there is a positive correlation between the technical marks and the professional marks. If you find those embedded tasks, if you do what they want, you will get those marks, okay? So imagine you work there. Imagine you are on a consulting assignment there. Is your advice helpful? Is your answer helping the leadership of the company solve their problem? If you answered the question they asked, if you framed it in the context of the business, you're going to get all the professional marks. You'll get passing professional marks. Okay? So that's all you got to do. Easy marks first. You've been hearing this potentially your whole ACCA student career. It's very much in play in APM. When you get into that examination hall or you fire up your computer at home, you're going to start with section A, but definitely do the requirements in the order of easiest things first. So if you see evaluate the performance report for 12 marks, guys, I would just, jump all over that one. And then if you see a difficult one, discuss the value-based management. I'll come back to that one. Let me just clear easy ones, maximize my marks on the easier ones so that you have a little buffer for the more difficult ones. Then when you get to section B, definitely check both scenarios and do the easier one first, easy tasks first. When you run out of time, you move on then and you're skipping the difficult thing. I had someone on my class that was a chronic resetter, and I looked at their mock exam and they just completely did it sequentially. Boom, 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 just like A to B. Like, why are you doing it that way? Do the easy things first. And I knew that because they always ran out of time at the end, and then they never did question 3. They always ran out of time. So guys, easy marks first, time management, critical. Now, I said this before, the tone you need to take. You sit in that exam hall, you got to imagine you're writing an email to a friend at work. Guys, your friend works there. So you're not going to restate the scenario. You're not going to say, oh, we have a manufacturing company that produces blah, 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 and we see that they have quality problems. You wouldn't say that in the email. You just jump right in and start answering the problem. You just start answering the question, solving the problem, right? And then, of course, You're going to say, this is a problem because market share is dropping. This is a problem because we see in the data that the quality costs, the non-conformance costs are going up. Look, they're up 20%. So, make your point, justify it like you're talking to someone at work, okay? No marks for grammar and spelling. So whatever you're doing, do not stop and try to wordsmith. Don't stop and try to polish. There's no time for that. Just let it fly off your fingertips as if it were a message to a work colleague. So, as I said, treat APM as a real-world simulation, right? Does your answer help solve the business problem? Are you giving valuable advice? Would they hire you based on your answer? If you guys sit in that exam hall and just for a moment, close your eyes and just tell yourself that I'm a consultant, I'm working here. What problems do they have? I want to just help them solve these problems in a practical way, okay? That's what you need to do. Richa, look at that. Right on the money, 11:45, Q&A is starting. Alrighty, friends, you have questions. Let's see if I can help answer. Let me dig into the Q&A box and see what's happening there. Give me a moment to reorganize my windows. Now, team, make sure you're putting your questions in Q&A, not in chat. So if you put your questions in chat, I'm not going to look at it right now. Give me a second, guys. I'm expanding this question and answer window. First question from Parth. Imagine you structure your answer and your answer structure is different than the model answer, but you still make good points. 100% you'll get credit, right? You can group ideas in different ways, okay? As long as you're grouping them in a logical way, you'll get the credit, okay? But guys, when you're evaluating and assessing things, a real common structure is pros and cons. And then in the tasks, you get multiple verbs, right? So verb 1, verb 2, verb 3, boom, 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 boom. So just take it in a logical, linear way like that. Guys, here's a good question. Time per mark during the exam. So I recommend that you spend 1.5 minutes. Guys, write that down. 1.5 minutes per mark as a rough guideline after you've planned, after you've read. So if you've got a 10-mark requirement, spend 15 minutes on that. And now here's something else I want to tell you. Get out a pen, write this down. Imagine you see a requirement for 10 marks. Write 10 down on a piece of paper, right? We got 10 marks. Split it in half. What's 10 divided by 5, guys? 10 divided by 2 is 5, obviously. Okay? Now, add a couple to that, right? So 5 plus 2 is 7. People, that is how you decide how much to write. So I see 10 marks, I cut it in half to 5, I add a little buffer, 7. I'm going to try and generate 7 ideas. So if I'm doing pros and cons, 3 pros, 3 cons, overall comment. If everything is well developed, if you're saying, for example, if you're saying this also means, you're going to get follow-on marks, you're going to get professional marks. Okay, guys? Now, spend 1 hour, 45 minutes on question 1. Use the extra 15 minutes on question 1. There's more to read and plan. And then it's 45 minutes per question for 2 and 3. When that time is up, goodbye. Move on to the next thing. If you are following easy marks first, it's time to pull the ripcord and move on. Guys, here's a good question from Abhishek. How to know how much a point needs to be elaborated? You make your point. Something is bad. Something is good. The customer perspective is too narrow. Okay? That is a valid point. So the marker wants to read more. The mark was not thrown down yet. The marker does want to read more. And then you say, for example, there's only one stakeholder mentioned. This is a this is a problem. That is a solid mark right there. Make your point, explain your idea a little bit further. Okay? What I like to do is this. Point, make your point, explain, example. Point, explain, example. Point, explain, example. So you find your problems, point, explain, example. And then for some of them, you want to say more. So you could say also, ba 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 ba. On the other hand, ba 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 ba. However, the story mentions there's no robust IT system, so it might be a problem to implement. So then you do a little bit of icing on your cake with some more linking words, some more conjunctions, however, also because. Okay, guys? Develop your ideas succinctly, quickly, link to the story, and you're gonna get a credit. You're gonna get credit. Someone here is saying, what are the most important topics and concepts to be learned if time is short? Guys, I'll give you an important tip right now. According to the syllabus document, and according to what I've seen, one question in section B always comes from syllabus area D, performance evaluation. And that is a very succinct chapter in every book. And you need to know 7 things there. You need to know building block model, performance pyramid, value for money, activity-based management, and then you got to chuck into that value for money, league tables, balanced scorecard, right? So 7 things, the 7 different models that we can use. So I would say, if you're worried, start there, okay? But then the rest of it, guys, you got to know it all, okay? So that's my one tip about what to study first. Here's a question that's linked to something that I just said earlier. Do you have a structural method that can be used to answer the question? I like point, explain, example. Point, explain, example. So you could manage, that's a pyramid, right? The point, explain, example. Point, explain, example. Then linking word, a little bit more. Some people like this approach. What, so what? What's my point? So what? Why is it important? So that's another approach that you can use. Here's a very good question about providing definitions. Now, this is a little bit ambiguous because you read in the examiner's report and it says, this paper is all about application. We don't want big definitions. But then you look in the model answer and there's, a paragraph of definition. So what's happening there? Well, first of all, you need up-to-date study materials. If you're looking at kind of old books that are 3 or 4 years old, the older style of the exam had more of this defining business, okay? Now, should you do a definition? Read the task. If it says in there, the directors are unsure about this, so explain, then you do, okay? If it just says evaluate the value for money, what I would do is this: economy, efficiency, effectiveness, boom, 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 boom. And then at the end, to cover my bases, I would do a quick value for money defined, okay? But it's only going to be 1 mark or 2 marks, okay? Go very light with the definitions. Only add those after you have answered the question that was asked, okay? You should be able to get full marks without that definition. Here's a question about which one to start with. I recommend you start in section A. You need that extra time, right? Start in section A, 1 hour, 45 minutes, then go to B, and then do the easier of the 2 questions. So A, then B. That's the order that I recommend. Here's a question for a resitter. Guys, I feel your pain. I had to resit on financial reporting like 3 or 4 times. I forget. It's very busy. I was a manager in the Big Four at this point, and I was doing ACCA older than most people. I was already in my 30s, and I thought I knew it, and I thought I could just, show up. I don't need to worry about this stuff. But guys, I kept failing. And then how did I fix that? Well, the first thing I did, I implemented a systematic study approach, and I started using my mornings instead of my nights. You're much better in the mornings. So guys, I recommend shift your studying to the morning. You'll be much more efficient. So what I did was 3 times a week in the lead up to the exam, I would get up at 5:30 in the morning. I would have my suit ironed beforehand, right? This is back in the day when we had to wear suits to work. I don't think I've worn my suit. I can't remember the last time I put on a suit. Anyway, I had it ironed, hanging on the refrigerator door. I had my revision book opened, my calculator, and the alarm clock would go off, and I would just get up and go sit at the kitchen table and then do an hour and a half of study, practice questions. And then I learned about exam technique, and I realized, oh, wait a second, you got to do things in a structured, methodical way. So guys, if you're stuck here on APM resitting, first of all, put the past in the past. Nothing you can do. We're not going that way. We're looking to forward. Change your study time. Reflect what you need to change, right? You need to change something. Something is not working, okay? And the top issues that get fixed, in my observation, by resitters who become successful, it's the things I just told you about. Structure your answer. Make sure you are generating enough ideas. Are you doing that? If you see 12 marks, 6, 8, you got to be giving 8 points to the markers. Are you linking to the story? So I recommend, it's probably exam technique. Okay, I've got a YouTube channel with lots of tips on exam technique. There are amazing videos in the ACCA student video YouTube library. So I recommend you go check that out if you haven't. So you got to change something, and it's probably your exam technique. I got time for one more question, guys. A lot of questions about the definitions. I answered that one. Okay, revision structure for these last 3 weeks. First thing you got to do, make a study plan. You should be doing something APM related every day. That's the most important thing you can do. I recommend at lunchtime, if you have 15, 20 minutes, get into Study Hub, do some of those quizzes. Then what you need to do, if you have a 1 hour study break, you need to find a past exam question and you need to practice structuring. You got to structure it and write up a couple of ideas. You check your ideas by looking at the model solution only for ideas, not for quantity of writing, not for style, okay? The model answer tells you what the ideas are, not how you should present them. Now, on the weekend, you guys, if you can book 3 sessions on the weekend or 4, you got to get up really early and you've got to do a full past exam question to time. Go for a run, do a little bit before lunch, go chill with your kids, then come back in the evening. So make a study plan, do past exam questions on the weekends, do shorter simulations during the week, top off your knowledge every day, going through that study hub, make a study plan. And guys, I think that's a path to success. Do the mock exam and do those practice exams as well. Those ones you do as timed simulations like the firefighters. Guys, I had an awesome hour hanging out with you. I wish you the best of luck. I know you can do this. Close your eyes, visualize success. Hassan, over to you.